Hello, everyone. Don't mind me. I'm just gonna adjust a little bit. Yeah, probably as good as it's gonna get. There we go. Just need to clean the lens a little. What's up, everyone? How's it going? Another live episode. I know it's funny. People were like a couple months ago, and like last month even, people were like, "Hey, do more live streams," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll get to them eventually." And then this week has just been so crazy with work that I filmed a bunch of stuff on Monday, and I couldn't get extra time in to edit some of them because of my work schedule. And then I was given today off, like kind of last minute, because just like park attendance, when there's not a lot of people go to the theme parks, they don't need a lot of us to come in. So I got today off, and then I was supposed to have today and tomorrow off. Hey, what's up, Super Unicycle? I was supposed to have today and tomorrow off, but then they called me in to come in tomorrow now, just like an hour ago. So again, my work schedule is it's by the minute sometimes. So yeah, so I got to work on some stuff I'm gonna edit tonight and try to get up tomorrow. Luckily, I'm only working like a half day tomorrow. At least that's what they say. But sometimes that could be more. But I'm hoping it's just that, because I do have other stuff I got to get done in my personal life that I could have used 2 full days off to do. But you do what you can. But thanks for being here, Stupid Unicycle. Today we are going to talk about the Venomverse, or SPUMC, as Sony calls it, Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, SPUMC, which I think is dumb. They should just call it the Venomverse, because Venom kind of started it, in a way, because of its success. That's why we're getting Morbius, and that's why we're getting some of these other things, and that's why Sony had more negotiating power to deal with Spider-Man with the MCU. Yes, such a bad name, right? And so because Sony's kind of like got ahead with that, they were able to get Spider-Man kind of to come back. So after he's in the next Marvel movie, I think he belongs fully to Sony again, unless they make another deal. But at least now they can use Tom Holland if they want to. So because of Venom's success, that led to that now. So now people will be getting Spider-Man and Venom meeting at some point. Then we also got these other movies coming out. We got Morbius, obviously, which is gonna, has been filmed and edited, and that's gonna be coming out early next year in 2021. Still waiting for some Morbius news. We'll be getting some soon, I believe. I saw that Jared Leto just got cast, and I think he's playing Andy Warhol or something like that, or he's in an Andy Warhol biopic movie, I think. So I think with him working on his next project, you'll probably start seeing a little bit more Morbius stuff. I'm thinking closer to October we're gonna get more Morbius stuff. That's just a guess. That is not like, it's not confirmed or anything like that. I'm just guessing, because kind of like how some of you guys were guessing that December will be Venom 2 trailer or teaser month. I still not sure. I feel like we'll get something sooner than December. But since a lot of people kind of speculate December, I was kind of using a similar math, and it was like, all right, well, let's just say they're right about December for Venom 2. Then what would it be for Morbius? And October kind of would be what it is for Morbius. So yeah, he looks like a great Morbius. I think he's going to do really good. I think it's one of those roles where they picked a good person for that character. I like him in the trailer. I saw the trailer again when I saw New Mutants for Morbius, and seeing him like walking around with the crutches and winning the Nobel Peace Prize, which, by the way, that was like in the first Morbius appearance, which was Amazing Spider-Man 101 and 102, I believe. It's a Spider-Man story where he fights the Lizard and he fights Morbius at the same time. And Morbius is on a ship, so they show a scene in the movie where he's on a ship and he's like fighting people. I'm like, that's cool. That's straight from his first appearance. He also wins a Nobel Prize for like his work in science. So that's also looks like that's in the movie too. So that's pretty cool. It's a lot of little accurate things for the character. So we have Morbius. Then we also had some news a couple weeks ago about Kraven the Hunter movie moving forward at Sony with their eye on a director who did a movie called Triple Frontier. His name is J.C. Chander. They're looking at him to possibly be the director for Kraven the Hunter. I haven't seen Triple Frontier. I believe I know what that is. I think that was like a Netflix movie or something like that. But apparently they are eyeing him. Sony had no official comments. We don't know for sure if he's going to be the director of Kraven or if that will move forward. But this report was from Deadline, so I trust kind of some of their sources when it comes to at least rumors that they're hearing. I don't know if it's true yet or not. We'll find out. I always like to wait for the official word, as you guys know. Then we also had Olivia Wilde, like a couple weeks ago, was being set to direct a female-led Marvel movie for Sony. So Olivia Wilde, great actress. She was in Tron, Legacy, and a bunch of other great movies. And she's I didn't know she directed. I think maybe she had made something else. I can't remember. Last year under her movie, she did a movie called Booksmart, which I have not seen. But she was tapped by Sony to possibly work on a female-led Sony movie. Spider Silk? No. Silk's something else. We're going to talk about that in a second. Have you seen the Batman News Sucks? I hope he overcomes it. I have, but this is not a Batman episode. This is a Venomverse episode. But I hope he does too. Same with The Rock. I heard they both had corona, and the Rock's family also got corona. So yeah, I hope they all recover quickly. Definitely, and I care more about that than them finishing the movie, and I'm sure they do too. Like they just want everyone to be healthy. So yeah, I hope they all bounce back quickly. So Olivia Wilde was asked to come in and, I guess she did some meetings with them. This is from Vulture. This is where I got this information from. And they had said that she came in. They're guessing that she might be the director for Spider-Woman, but that's not official. That's just what their headline says, but that's not official. So that's just Chris Murphy here. I don't know if he heard a rumor or knows someone at Sony or something, but Deadline originally reported it, and that she's set up to direct something for Sony, and that it is probably going to be a female-led superhero movie for their Spider-Verse. So I guess they're just thinking it's Spider-Woman. I'm kind of hoping it's the Madam Web movie, but we'll see. I don't really want Spider-Woman as a movie, like not because of the character. I think the character is great, but just Spider-Woman it's very derivative of Spider-Man. Yeah, the Sonyverse is getting big. What's up, 2000 Man Reborn? How's it going? Wish they could do a better acronym. SPUMC doesn't really roll off the tongue. I know. I just call it the Venomverse. I don't care. I know that's not the real name for it, but that's what I'm calling it. You wonder if they'll do a Scorn movie. I think they got to do a bunch of other stuff before they get to Scorn. But Spider-Woman, I like the character. I just, I don't know. It's like, I guess maybe it's because I grew up in the Chris Reeve Superman era, and when they released Supergirl, it was like, okay, I know there's a Supergirl character. I know there's a Spider-Woman character. But I don't know. I guess for me, it seems like it's hard for those characters to stand on their own, while the other one, is there. I mean, maybe that's just me being stupid. So, but Spider-Woman, I think it's a neat concept, but I would much rather like a Madam Web movie, and not you. You heard me pitch my version of Madam Web, where it's like a treasure hunter, meets Indiana Jones or something like that, and it's like or like a Laura Croft type, where it's an old woman Madam Web, and she's like trying to pass her power on to a younger, more action-oriented Madam Web. So then you have this girl who's kind of like a Tomb Raider type going around looking for all these things. She gets connected to the web of life or whatever, and then she gets the power of Madam Web passed down to her. So then at the end of the movie, you have a younger Madam Web. Much like in the comics, they had a younger Madam Web who kind of dressed like Carmen Sandiego. Something like that. But Spider-Woman, I don't know. I mean, I would see it still, because I think depending on which version they do of one Spider-Woman, but still that's a great character. So we'll have to see what that comes, what comes of that. But you said Silk. So just yesterday, today at 1:30 p.m. Deadline reported that Sony is meeting with Amazon, or is in talks with Amazon, to do a Silk live action TV show. So for those who may have forgot this news, a while ago, after Into the Spider-Verse came out, Lord and Miller were tasked by Sony to develop a couple of TV shows that will be part of the Spider-Verse. And that's a good place, I think, for Spider-Woman, because then she's a derivative of Spider-Man, but you can literally tie her in. I'm afraid that if they did a Spider-Woman movie, because of the Marvel deal, they couldn't tie her. Not that she does directly tie to Spider-Man completely, but I feel like it'd be a little tougher. Whereas if you just make it to where there's an alternate universe where instead of a Spider-Man, there's a Spider-Woman, I think that would just fit the aesthetic of this world building that they're trying to do better than like a standalone Spider-Woman thing. If she was part of the webverse, the multiverse, if you will. So Amazon is in talks to do Silk as a TV show, and that's being reported by Deadline and a bunch of other places right now. And so Sony was originally talking about making Silk into a live action movie, as a lot of people knew, but I guess now they're considering it more for TV, and maybe for Amazon, and Lord and Miller would be producers on it, because they are going to be in charge, or as at least produce everything that is related to the Spider-Verse, and that's kind of their role at Sony from now on. Wish they could. Oh yeah, better acronym. Hey dude, I'm doing good. I think there's 5 to 6 Spider Women led by Madam Web. Now see, that would be cool too if it was called Spider Women, and it was like a Madam Web story where she kind of almost like a Charlie's Angels of spider people, and they're like Spider Women. Actually, that actually is not a bad idea. That actually is not actually a bad idea, because I don't know, man, I grew up watching Charlie's Angels, so the old classic TV show, and then I know they did those remakes versions with like Cameron Diaz and stuff, which were fun. They're fun movies. I haven't seen the new one, but yeah, like that could be something that could be interesting. 5 or 6 of them too. That'd be crazy. So yeah, so we'll see. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of different Spider-Women characters they can choose from. They can throw Spider-Gwen in there, whatever. I know they're thinking about a Spider-Gwen spin-off from Into the Spider-Verse cartoon, maybe too. They seem to have a lot of meetings over at Sony, and they seem to throw a lot of ideas at the dartboard, and they seem to leak a lot of those ideas to the press, get people's reactions to them and stuff. To me, I wish they would just commit. I really hate when studios do that, and all studios do this, where they're like, hey, let's leak this to the press, let's get people talking, and let's see what the reaction is. You can't go off the reaction of the internet. I think I mentioned this recently, like one of the reasons I was like happy to leave Twitter was because I see all these people fighting on Twitter about politics and movies and life and games and all this other stuff, and they just want to kill each other. Everyone's opinion is so volatile. It's just like a grenade, and when someone disagrees with it, it's like they pulled the pin on your grenade and you're just ready to explode all over them and stuff, as far as like a bomb goes, not explode in another way. So I was so happy to see like someone say that there was like less than 10% of the planet, or less than 8% of the planet is on Twitter. And I'm like, then what are we arguing with? Like, so it's just like all these hardcore passionate people that like certain things about movies and stuff like that. I'm like, if you counted all their ticket prices, they wouldn't be worth catering to at all. They just wouldn't be, whether they were for your ideas or against your ideas. They wouldn't be worth catering to, because they're that small of a percentage of the planet, and you could do a lot more with the broad audience's money than you could with that group of people's money. So that's why I was happy. I was like, oh, why am I getting on arguments on Twitter with like a very small portion of the planet, where we're actually, this is not connecting us as much as we thought. It's just a bunch of people come up with fake accounts, and so it seems like there's billions of people on Twitter, but there's really not, and so and there's like a bunch of bot accounts and things like that. So once I kind of wrapped my head around that, I was like, okay, bye Twitter. So to me, leaking information out there, getting people's reactions, and then using that to formulate your plan is a dumb thing. What's smarter and what should happen is, people sit in a room, Amy Pascal, what's the Avia Rod, whoever's at Sony, they get a Phil Lord and Miller in there, because now that they're kind of, in creative control of some things. And you get all these people, you get some of the directors that you're going to do different movies with, Olivia Wilde, this JC guy for Craven, if he's picked, the person who's going to develop Silk, like whatever, you get them all in a room, and you just start talking to each other. Like, hey, what are you doing with your movie? What interests you about your character? I want to hear your take on your character. And then you come up with a way to diversify your cast, in the sense that, like, okay, Morbius is like a sick guy and he's looking for a cure. Eddie is like this, brash, kind of dumb. His career was number one in his life until he lost it, and then he lost the woman he loved, and then he starts to bounce back as maybe more heroic. And you come up with your characters, and then you go, okay, so we need an opposite of Morbius. We need someone who's like healthy and who can, who's like a jogger and runs every day or something. So it's like, okay, that's going to be our female character. She's going to be like very athletic and and more outgoing and less of an introvert. And you come up with your universe like that, and then you bounce ideas off each other. This is what we want to do in our movie. This is what we need. Okay, well, you're doing that in your movie. That's cool. Can we like bounce off of that in our Silk show? Because that's a neat idea for Spider-Woman. So can we take like that little pearl and put it in the Silk show also, and then kind of build off of it with our character? And that's how you work on these things, and you just come up with a plan. And you yeah, okay, if you want to like once you develop the plan, share that with a couple other people at Sony or other, places that you do business with, then and get their ideas and bounce it back. That's fine, but you don't leak it to the press and then let people on the internet talk about it, most of which who don't even know how movies or TV are actually made. And then you're like, oh, well, they said this, so we, it's like, yeah, you should always listen to feedback, but do that after. Come up with your plan first. And that's what kind of frustrates me about these companies when they do stuff like that. I want to be more Sony leaked email ideas turned into films. Do you? There's so many. There's I'm definitely down for a Kraven the Hunter movie. I'll say that. Hey, X-Master, what's up? Thank you for the 4 thumbs up, everyone. Appreciate that. My thoughts on Morbius, I like the character. I mean, he's never been one of my favorite characters. I liked him a lot in the Spider-Man cartoon when he was more of like a tragic character. That they seem to do that a lot in the Spider-Man cartoon, because they even kind of did that with Scorpion and a couple other people and Lizard and stuff. But I feel like that's how it is. Like, that's what I liked about those old cartoons, like the 90s Batman, at least the first 3 seasons. Although I do like season 4, The New Adventures, but in the first 3 seasons, Batman seems a little bit more compassionate. He wants to save Clayface, although in one episode he's like, I want to save you, and then he destroys his machine, and you're like, well, that was the machine that was going to save him. Although I think at that point, Batman destroyed the machine because he was like, hey, this machine will not save you. It's a temporary fix. But me, knowing that he's Bruce Wayne, he's like, I can help you find a cure. So maybe that was what it is. But they were more compassionate. Spider-Man was more compassionate. He didn't want to just wake up every week and punch the Lizard in the face because it was Dr. Connors. He wanted to save Dr. Connors. He also, around that time, turned into Man-Spider, grew the extra arms and stuff, and so he was looking for a cure for that and for himself, and then maybe that could help Morbius and all this stuff. So I like superheroes that have that compassion for their villains, and I thought they did it really well in the 90s cartoons, whether it be not so much on X-Men all the time, sometimes, but mainly Spider-Man and Batman cartoons were very, very much like that. So I never liked Morbius like full out, but I do like him enough to where I'm interested in the movie. And I think they did a good job casting him. And the rest of the cast looks really great too. And there is some Morbius stuff we'll talk about coming up on the show. There's some comic books. We already did his first appearance. We talked about that already when I did my trailer reaction. I kind of crunched those 2 episodes together into one episode. But there's some great Venom Morbius stuff out there. One of which I talked about recently where Spider-Man is dealing with a kid who has cerebral palsy, and while he's there with the kid, he's got to fight Morbius as well. It's really good, actually. It's written by Paul Jenkins, one of my favorite Spider-Man writers, especially modern Spider-Man writers. So we'll talk a lot about Morbius coming up, because we're just not going to have a lot of Venom information for a while, from what I understand. So I think in October I'll probably do a lot of Morbius stuff for you guys. I love that Sony is doing their own thing. I do too. I do too. What up, Pro Rider? How's it going? Thanks for the 6 thumbs up, by the way, everyone. Appreciate it. Morbius reminds me of Candyman. Candyman. Candyman Schliger? There was I don't know if you've seen Pete Holmes, like 6 or 7 years ago, he did these videos where he plays Professor X, and he interviews the X-Men, and he's firing them one by one because he thinks they're lame. And he talks to Thomas Middleditch, who plays Nightcrawler. And he says, oh, he's like, you look like Candyman. And then, then Thomas Middleditch, being in character, says Candyman, which is like the German version of Candyman, but it was like a G-rated movie where the guy shows up and hands kids candy. It wasn't like a murderer. So it's pretty good. Anyway, if you've ever seen those Pete Holmes videos, they're really funny. Hi, Ilnova. How's it going? Hey, Christian Cotto, what's up? Are the Sinister Six going to have solo films, then the team up because Drew guarded pitch was kind of cool? I remember that pitch. I don't know if that's the plan they're going for. I doubt it, because Vulture's not going to get his own movie, but yet he was in Spider-Man Homecoming. I imagine Vulture is going to be one of the Sinister Six members, because it's Michael Keaton. Of course, you would want him involved. Maybe Jared Leto's Morbius might end up going there. I don't know about Scorpion or Shocker, although that guy they got to play Scorpion in the Spider-Man Homecoming. I would like to see Scorpion on screen. That's one of the villains we haven't got on screen. Same with Vulture and Mysterio. So that's the one thing I liked about the MCU movies, that they've given us villains we haven't seen before, and they got pretty good actors to play them. Mostly great actors to play them. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I feel like they probably won't all get solo movies. I feel like Kraven will probably set up Kraven and Chameleon maybe, because they're kind of half brothers in the comic. So you might see that relationship maybe. and then that way from there you can go right into Sinister Six. So I don't know if there's going to be a single movie for each villain, but you'll probably see single movies with those villains in them for sure. Cool stuff, man. What are some of your top picks to play Kraven the Hunter? You know what? I wrote a Spider-Man 4 script in 2007 with two of my friends. We talked about it on the show before. I even did a Venom vlog episode. I think it's either episode 100 or 150 or 200. I can't remember. But you can look at my playlist. It's in season 1 or 2 of the Venom vlog. But I wrote a Spider-Man 4 script, and at that time we were thinking of Gerard Butler to play our version of Kraven. We were working at Sony. We had wrote a script. We had pitched it. We were nobody, so the script didn't go anywhere. Although some of the stuff we did with Lizard in it, it's weird because some of those things showed up in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, but that could just be them pulling inspiration from the same comics we did. So I doubt it was copied. I don't even know who read our script, to be honest with you. So it's hard to say. Although we did send it to Amy Pascal and a couple other people at Sony, Avi Arad and all those guys. So and we gave it to their assistants to leave for them. But I don't know. You never know. There's like a million Spider-Man scripts that go around at Sony. So most likely no one read ours at all. But we were thinking of Gerard Butler at that time because he was big, and I think 300 had come out, and so we were kind of thinking of Kraven because he has the spear in the movie. Very lazy. I'm not a casting guy. I'm not very good. I think the only time I nailed casting was after I saw American Psycho in the theater. I was like, oh, that guy, he'd be my pick for Batman. And then like 7 years later or 6 years later, he plays Batman. Christian Bale played Batman. So I think that's the only time I've ever done casting well. So yeah, so I don't know. At that time it was Gerard Butler. He's probably not able to do it now. So I don't know who could play him now. I haven't really given it a lot of thought. But maybe we'll talk about that at some point. Who would you pick? Who would you pick for Kraven? All of you guys, everyone in the chat, let me know whoever you would pick for Kraven. I'd love to hear it. Probably off topic, but how would you feel about an R-rated Venom movie or show? Do you think it would be cool? No, I do not think it would be cool. I don't want R-rated stuff when it comes to some superhero and supervillain and anti-hero stuff. I want younger people to go see it so that they can become fans of it too. So I like PG-13 when it comes to that stuff. Hey, hello, Desmond. How's it going? I would like to see an R-rated Scorpion Venom show. Yeah, not me. Hey, wow, 10 thumbs up. Hey, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. A Lizard solo movie would be interesting. The thing is, audiences still remember the Andrew Garfield movie with Lizard, so I doubt they're going to bring Lizard into these movies. I don't think you'll see them. I think Marvel's really trying to do villains that haven't been done before. So I think we'll get Kraven, Vulture. We got Scorpion already. That wasn't the Tinkerer in Homecoming. They mentioned they call him Alexei in Far From Home. Mysterio has a henchman named Alexei, and that's Chameleon's real name. So I mean, it's kind of a no-name actor or stunt guy that plays him. So I don't know if they'll actually cast him as Chameleon. The thing about Chameleon is you could bring in a new actor to play Chameleon because he changes faces, so that could be easy. Hey, what's up, Cunning? Cunning in the house. Cunning in the house. Okay, Cunning in the house. It's been a while since I've done that. How do you pronounce SPUMC? Just like I said it. And what does it stand for? Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters. It's dumb. So we call it the Venomverse around here. The villain from No Country from Old Men as Kraven? Javier Bardem? He's a good actor. I don't know. For me, Kraven has to be like uber macho, like toxic macho almost. I mean, this is a guy who takes herbal drugs to get pumped up to hit this adrenaline rush to like kill animals and stuff and rip their heads off with his bare hands. Our screenplay that we wrote for the Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 4, was the opening scene took place in Africa, and you see this lion sneaking up on a deer, or like another animal. I don't think it was a deer. It was like not a jackalope. It's the wrong country, I think. But anyway, so it was like a lion coming up on its prey, and then it's like, leaning down, coming behind this tree, and then like circling around to the more flat deserty part to sneak up on this animal, and then right as it jumps up, it gets tackled by Kraven. And Kraven grabs it, tackles it, brings it to the ground, grabs its mouth, and cracks its jaw like that, and kills it with his bare hands. And that was the opening scene. And then he drags it back to a cave where you see like animal heads, hanging up in the cave, and he's just been living in this cave near like a little creek somewhere, like a little river where he gets his water, and he is just cuts up the animals he captures, and he saves their heads but eats them to get the spirit of the animal inside of them. And so we made him really visceral and really like gritty and very macho. And I just the way he looks, like I don't know. I'm not that Harvey Bardem isn't like a macho dude. He's a scary dude for sure, but I don't know. For me, someone needs to be like ripped, like they need to be like Henry Cavill Superman big to me for Kraven. I'm not like that with most characters. Like I feel like you can cast, Scorpion doesn't need to be ripped, Vulture doesn't need to be ripped, all that stuff. You don't need to really do that for everyone. But for Kraven, I think you do. Like, because ours, like what we wrote was Kraven, it was New York at Christmas time. So we wanted a snow setting for this Spider-Man movie. And he's running around barefoot with just like these combat shorts on with like areas to put like smoke bombs and knives and things like that on his hip, on his pouch. And then he's got this spear and he's shirtless. And that was our Kraven. He was just like this dude who just ran through the snow with no shoes and no shirt on, hunting Spider-Man and stuff, and the Lizard, because the Lizard was our other villain in our Spider-Man movie. Havor Badem, yeah. That dance though, right? I'm getting there. I'm getting better at it. I'm not sure the SPUMC acronym will go over well with marketing team. Well, apparently it is, because that's what they keep referring to it as. Joe Manganiello or Jeffrey Dean Morgan are my top picks for Kraven. Carl Urban is a great Kraven. You know why? Because I think he can probably do the accent too. That's the thing, is you got to nail the Russian accent. And Carl Urban is such a great actor. That's a good choice. I like him. Good call. He's already been an MCU villain though. He was I don't know, he was in Thor something, Ragnarok. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I like him a lot. I'm a big Supernatural fan, so I got the Supernatural tattoos. So I like him, but I don't know. I think he's gonna probably prepare to be Thomas Wayne at some point. And Joe Manganiello, isn't he? He was like Deathstroke. I'm sure he would like to play a supervillain or something. He's pretty charismatic. He could be interesting to watch. The thing I like about Carl Urban is that he's a great leading man, but he's also a great like side character. He's a very good actor. I love that show he did where he was a cop and he had like an android partner. It only lasted one season, but it was really good. I love him as Dredd. I like him in Star Trek as Bones. Like, he's a really good actor. He's on The Boys, like you said. Eric Kripke, the creator of Supernatural's new show, which just season 2 comes on tomorrow, I think, on Amazon. So yeah, I mean, that's a good choice too. But Carl Urban is like, he's very likable, and that's what I feel like you need for Kraven, because if you're gonna make a movie where Kraven carries his own movie, you're going to need an actor who's very likable that people kind of, dig. Like Tom Hardy being Venom, that was smart on their part to get Tom Hardy, because I think he's very likable. People just like the guy himself, and that helped make that movie a ton of money. Same with this. I think you would need to get someone like a Carl Urban to play Kraven the Hunter. So I agree. I want Toxin to be the villain in Venom 3. All right. What's up, Fables fan trailers? Nice. I'm okay if Toxin never appears in a movie, but that's just me. He's too old. Get the guy who was going to be Deathstroke. Yeah, I mean, Joe Manganiello, they're all great in different ways. Yeah, I would say Jeffrey Dean Morgan's probably a little too old. Not to, he would probably kick my butt for saying that about him, but I just mean then again, I mean, Michael Keaton plays the Vulture, so I don't know. I guess all that matters is if you just look yoked, then to me, and you can do the accent, then I think you'll be good for Kraven. I love Kraven. He's my favorite Spider-Man villain, but it's weird. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't have a preference on who plays him, as long as they look like badass and they can do the Russian accent. Like, that's literally my only 2 prerequisites. I don't care what race he is or anything. Like, just as long as he's Russian, like as long as he has a Russian accent. So whatever that they need to do to get that, that's all that is. Toxin is a good boy. Should it be a Russian actor? Isn't Kraven Russian? No, I mean, yeah, if you can find a good Russian actor to do it, sure, but you need someone who is like, that really limits you, because you need someone who people recognize, because you need this movie to make money. So there's a lot of elements. I feel like they're probably going to get someone who isn't Russian to play a Russian, most likely. And I'm not one of those types where I'm like, he's Russian, you got to get a Russian to play it. I don't subscribe to that thought process at all. If you can do the accent and you can like play the character well, that's called acting. So like to me, I'm like, that's what I want. I want someone to act and be the character. And I don't care what they're if they're actually Russian or not, as long as they capture the spirit of Sergei Kravenov and they bring him to life properly and they can carry a movie and be charismatic. Because that's the thing. What does everyone say about the Venom movie? Whether they loved it or hated it, most people agree Tom Hardy carried that movie and they liked his performance in it. That's what you need for Craven. Because in case the movie sucks, because you're going to have to write a solo Craven movie, so it might suck. So if that's the case, then you need an actor who people will go see the movie for. I think Carl Urban's a good choice for that. Jason Momoa would have been a cool Lobo or Craven. I don't know about the DC contracts. He was going to play the Crow also, but I don't want them to ever remake the Crow. Putin should be Craven. Vladimir Putin is Craven the Hunter. What's up, Gru Wanderer? Hey, 13 thumbs up. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it would be nice if Scorpion wasn't 5 foot nothing though. Is that who that actor? I don't know. I guess he is. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, they put the costume on him. Who cares? Tom Hardy is not 7 foot tall, but yet when he was Bane, he looked like he was taller than Batman in some scenes. You want Henry Cavill as Craven? I mean, he kind of looks like Craven. I saw what was that, Mission Impossible Fallout? I watched that recently, and he's pretty yoked in that movie. Like he's brutal. I love that, like when he pumps his like shotguns his fists. I thought that was awesome. Urban was Scourge. It was an embarrassing role for that character. Oh, Scourge, that's his name. I couldn't remember his name. I'm not a big fan of Ragnarok. There's some things in that movie I like, especially Jeff Goldblum, but I'm not a huge fan of that movie. So I only seen it like one time. How did you feel when you first heard of Venom movies in the works? I didn't even think about it. I heard because I worked at Sony in 2007 until like 2009 on and off. Like I was back and forth because I worked at other places too. And I don't know, like they've been talking about Venom since then, like because they were going to do a Topher Grace Venom spinoff movie. So I've known about Venom movies even before I worked at Sony because they were going to do one with Dolph Lundgren in like the late 90s before Blade, before David Goyer wrote Blade, or he wrote Blade, but before it got made, he was like hit up to talk, to maybe write a Venom movie. And so he wrote a Venom screenplay too, where it was like Venom versus Carnage or whatever. And I don't know. I guess I've been waiting for a Venom movie for a very long time. So it didn't hit me though until I heard who was playing Venom. Once they said Tom Hardy was playing Venom and they said that was officially the deal, it was signed, that is what made me take interest in this movie. So if you go back and watch the first episode of Venom Vlog, which was 560 episodes ago, almost 3 years ago now, the first episode I made was me reacting to Tom Hardy training for the role of Venom. So I think I was more interested in Tom Hardy playing the character than the actual movie being made at first. But then as I saw teasers and stuff like that and watched the movie, I was like, hey, this was pretty fun. I'm really happy Craven's getting his own movie. As a fan of his, I am too, but it's gonna be hard to pull off. What do you think about Jared Leto's Morbius? We talked about that earlier, but I'm all for that. And yeah, when this episode airs later, like after I'm done doing the live, you can go back and watch it. We talk about the SPUMC universe, the Venomverse. We talk about updates on Morbius at the beginning of this episode. We talked about the director that they're eyeing to do Craven the Hunter. We talked about the new Silk TV show that they announced today that Amazon is thinking about doing. And we also talked about Olivia Wilde directing possibly Spider-Woman, but a female-led spider movie for sure, female spider movie. Imagine Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Norman Osborn. Ooh, he's good. I love Jeffrey. Ever since Supernatural, I remember being like, this guy's a good actor. He plays the dad of the Winchester brothers in the first 2 or 3 seasons. I think they brought him back in last season for like episode 200, I think, or 300. I can't remember. Because it's on season 15. And this is the last season of the show. But I remember watching him on that show and going like, this guy's really good. Like he made that show. He wasn't in every episode in the first 2 seasons. He was just here and there. But whenever he showed up, I remember being like really jazzed that he was on that episode. I was like, dude, this guy's awesome. And then he went and played Negan. And I'm so glad his career is like, and he was in The Losers. Like he's been in a lot of stuff, man. He's a good actor. How do you think Norman Osborn should be done in the MCU, and who should play him? You know what? I think Norman Osborn should show up and create the Dark Avengers. That's what I think should happen. I think Oscorp should buy out stock in Stark Industries, and then he has access to the suits if he wants them or something. I don't know, whatever. I mean I'm just being silly, but I just want to. If you're going to do Norman Osborn, I'd rather see a different version of Norman Osborn, because we've already seen him in two versions now. We saw the version of him where he's like a Power Ranger villain, and then we saw a version of him where he just dies, like the Spider-Man's major villain. He just dies in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Just he's in two scenes, and Chris Cooper plays him, I think, and he just dies. So this time around, I'd like to see a guy who is very charismatic, so that people love, and that he wins over, I guess the public, and tries to appear to be an ally to Spider-Man. Maybe even tries to help him out of this, his secret identity being exposed kind of thing. Tries to help him out of that, but then you find out he's really just a bad guy. But again, I feel like that's already kind of what they did with Mysterio. So I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I would rather just not see Norman Osborn in the MCU, to be honest with you. But I don't know who should play him. Like I said, I'm not very good at casting stuff. I don't know. Make him black. Like update him. Do something different with him. Just because, like I said, we've already seen two versions of him. So it's like, as long as they do something new, that's all I care about with Norman Osborn. Yeah, I'm definitely glad everyone had fun with it. I'd be happy if Norman Osborn never appeared in the MCU. Just have a hard time believing they do the character right. I mean, that's the other thing, is like MCU to me doesn't have a great track record of getting their villains right. They get a lot of their heroes done pretty well, but not a lot of their villains. So that's kind of how I feel too. Heard that the design of Carnage might look like the one from the Ultimate Alliance 2 video game. What's up, Carnage Armageddon? Well, I don't know who you heard that from, but I mean, I'm sure we'll see Carnage very soon. I mean, we already saw what his arm looked like. If you go back and watch some of my videos when I was on the set of Venom 2, I went to the set in San Francisco, and there was some filming there where someone had like a giant arm, a red Carnage arm, and they were using it as a prop. Now, granted, don't go off the look of that. That's just like, it's like a plain red arm with some black veins in it, but I'm sure they're gonna fix it in post to where like little things are coming off of it and stuff. So it's not the final version, that's for sure. You just want Carnage to have black teeth? Oh, yeah, there you go. When I heard the Venom movie was in the works again for like the umpteenth time, I said, yeah, it has been for like 20 plus years. Pretty much. It's been a long time, right, Eddie's mullet? Will a version of Spider-Man ever appear in Venomverse? They did mention an incident that happened in New York, possibly the Sin Eater storyline and 90s animated. I imagine I don't know if they'll flesh that out. That would be nice if they did, because I would like some actual character development for some of these characters in the Venom movies. But yeah, they did mention that he got, cancel cultured from New York by getting a story wrong. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they touch on that in the second movie. I hope so. If not, I had an idea for a prequel comic book. So hey, Marvel, Sony, hit me up. I have an idea for like an 8-page prequel, to show what happened in New York. But I'm not going to say what the idea is. Not because I think I'm going to ever get hired for it, but I'm just not going to give the idea away for free. I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan in The Losers. He's good in that movie. It'd be great if the Craven movie was playing on the Registration Act, having him hunt down vigilantes. I was thinking about that. I was like, in the Craven movie, you could actually have Spider-Man in it, because he could be coming to New York to hunt. That's what our script was that we wrote. We had it to where we had Justin Hammer. This is before Iron Man came out, so we didn't know they were going to use Justin Hammer. But we had Justin Hammer as a character who comes in and buys Oscorp after Spider-Man 3, and after Harry died and after Norman was dead in that universe. So we're like, we need someone to come in and buy this company. So they come in and they change it to Hammer Industries, and he goes and hires Craven to come to New York to take down Spider-Man, because he's like, well, this guy has ruined, he's fought actual superpowered villains in the city and has won, and has, destroyed plans that Oscorp has had, and, all this other stuff. He's like, so this guy's going to be a pain in my butt if I do illegal things, which I'm gonna. So Craven, why don't you preemptively come in, take this guy down for me? So Craven comes to New York to hunt Spider-Man for Justin Hammer. At the end of the movie, you find out it's not Justin Hammer. He takes off his face, and it's the Chameleon. So the Chameleon has killed Justin Hammer at some point in his life, and is disguising. He's using masks to disguise himself so that he could get all this money and buy Oscorp and stuff like that. So and then he hired his brother, essentially Craven, to come and fight Spider-Man. So So yeah, so I would love that. I would love if Craven's coming to New York to hunt Spider-Man. That'd be great. Um, Matthew McConaughey as Norman Osborn. Anyone? That you know what? I like that because I like Matthew McConaughey, and he's likable. So like I said, if you want to do Norman Osborn differently, make him very likable. And if you do that, you're already doing a different version of Norman Osborn. Off topic, what are some of your favorite DC movies, and what are some of the DC movies you're most excited to see in the future? Yeah, I mean, this is mostly a Venomverse show, but just to answer briefly, I would say the Batman looks a little more interesting to me because I always like the detective aspect of Batman. Um, and I think there's in the trailer we saw like a card that has an owl on it. So I'm thinking like Riddler might be working for Court of Owls, so that could be good. I'm definitely a Wonder Woman fan. I like the first one a lot. I can't believe Apache Chief is in that movie. I thought that was so cool. So I'm excited to see the next Wonder Woman movie with Cheetah because I'm a big fan of that character as well. When I first got into DC Comics in the '90s, I was reading the George Perez Wonder Woman, and they did a really great version of her in issue number 9 of Barbara Ann Minerva. And also one of my friends and my neighbor or former neighbor in California, Erica, she did the voice of Cheetah in a lot of DC stuff, like Lego Cheetah and a lot of the animated movies. So I like that character a lot. So I'm excited for Wonder Woman. Suicide Squad, I'm 50-50 on. I like James Gunn completely, and I like the idea of a 70s war movie with the characters. But I don't know. I'm hesitant in some way towards it too. So we'll see. But I'm interested. I like James Gunn's work. So not just talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean like his Trauma stuff. Like I grew up watching cheesy indie films and things like that, and Slither. And so I love his stuff. So I'm curious to see what he does with Suicide Squad. Black Adam, I'm interested in because I really love that character. I never really gave him too much attention, and I've been reading DC Comics since the '80s. I've never liked Black Adam enough to where he would be in my top like 20 list of favorite characters of DC, but he is because of a book called 52 that came out like 12 years ago. If you've never read a DC comic in your life and you want to get into DC, look for a book called 52. I think it's in 2 or 3 graphic novels. And it's really good. It'll introduce you to a lot of C and D list characters from the DC universe because Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are missing for like a whole year. So this is about the year that they're gone, and all the other characters have to step up to save the world. It's really awesome. So, but yeah, I saw some of the other stuff at DC's fandom. Like, you know, I got to see more basically. But I'm interested. The Batman looks kind of intriguing, and Wonder Woman, I'm definitely excited for. All right, wall crawler. Let me take my shirt off. That was a fun shooting. What's up, 901? How's it going? 9 months till Venom 2. I know we're getting there, man. Whoever's having a baby right now, your baby will be born when Venom 2 comes out. So congratulations. Name your kid Venom, whether it's a guy or a girl. I was at Grace Cathedral when they shot the church scene in San Francisco. Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I was there when they shot in front of Eddie's apartment, and then around the corner they went into an alley and they shot in the alley behind his apartment too. So that's awesome. Sweet. I still want Tobey Maguire as Uncle Ben. Oh, that's an interesting casting. That could be kind of cool. Happy is his new uncle now. Yeah, that's true. He doesn't have. They don't really mention Uncle Ben too much. I get why on some level because they're like, but I think mainly it's because Sony owns Uncle Ben and not Disney. So I think that's mainly the reason. Toby doesn't even look older. He still looks young. That's true. Well, he could be Uncle Ben in flashbacks, so that's fine because he's supposed to be Uncle Ben. Oh, I don't know. That's true. Tom Holland's like 15 years old, so I guess you can't really do that too much. It's still disturbing to me that Aunt May is hot. I mean, it's not disturbing to me because Marissa Tomei is hot, and I'm totally into her. But I know what you mean. Like to say the words, "Oh, Aunt May is so hot," it feels weird because yeah, she's most of us know her as like a real grandma looking type, our whole lives. So, so yeah, I get what you mean. MCU gave up on Uncle Ben. The MCU version of Spider-Man isn't really good, to be honest. I mean, that comes down to opinion. I share your opinion, but I do know people really love this version of Spider-Man, and it's fine. We talk about that all the time on this show is how like every generation, kind of gets their version of a character. I think cartoons are better suited for that to introduce, like because that's how I feel like with cartoons. I saw someone saying like, oh, Batman, needs to be more for kids and things like that. I agree and don't agree. If you want Batman for kids who are like 4 to 9 years old, then you need a Batman cartoon on TV because that is what that's what that is for, is to get young kids into Batman. And then hopefully they watch the cartoon and they like Batman. Maybe they go read the comics. Once they're like 12, 13 and stuff, that's when movies. So like to me, when they say, oh, Batman PG-13 movie, I'm like, yeah, good. That's what it should be. Like, I don't want a Batman rated R movie. I don't want a Venom rated R movie. I want these movies to be PG-13. Deadpool makes sense, kind of, especially the way Ryan Reynolds did it. It makes sense for that sense of humor to be R rated. Logan makes sense. So it makes sense at times to do rated R versions of things. But for characters as iconic as Batman, like Wolverine's one thing. I don't think he's not like a name like Batman. The bat symbol is like in the top two most recognized symbols in the entire world. There's like the crucifix with Jesus Christ, there's Mickey Mouse ears, there's Batman symbol and Superman symbol. You could go almost anywhere on the planet and people know what those four things are. So to me, Batman he's an icon. He's too big. So to narrow it down and be like, here's an R-rated Batman, to me that just it feels weird to do that, in my opinion. I mean, of course you probably could do it and people will probably like it, but to me, I don't need Batman saying the F word and breaking people's necks and blood shooting out everywhere. Like, I don't need to see that in a Batman movie. It's not why I check out Batman content. Andrew Garfield is Harry Osborne. Oh yeah, I don't think he'll ever want to come back to do these kind of movies. I can feel it in interviews. He just seems kind of not interested. What do you expect the Venom 2 runtime to be? I'm hoping it's at least 2 hours. That's all I care about. I'm also not a big fan of like 2.5 hour movies. Normally when you write a screenplay, you try to get it within like 80 to 100 pages, and that would roughly make an hour and a half to hour 45-minute movie. I feel like if you can't tell your story in that amount of pages, then I think you're not a good writer. Because of course you can write all day. It's like, hey, here's a 3 hour movie, and we set everything up. Like, look at all the time we have to like pay all these things off. And to me, I'm just like, that's kind of lazy. I think a lot of times writers nowadays, they don't challenge themselves, and that's why writers in comics. I've been saying this for like 7, 8 years now, and I noticed other YouTubers are starting to make video content on it. I'm like, wow, finally you guys are catching on. But writers in comics, they don't write for trade, because back in the early 2000s, they would tell you when I was like pitching comics, like, write for trade, do 5, 6 issue story arcs so we can make a nice trade paperback out of that. Nowadays, it seems like everyone's writing for omnibus, and I noticed that about 7, 8 years ago, where people come in and they pitch like Bendis used to do. They pitch like 5-year plans on a book. So to me, when you do that, that alleviates any real challenge. The only real challenge you have is, okay, I got to make sure I deliver on 5 years worth of content, which if you're Bendis or Donny Cates or Tom King, it's easy to do that because a lot of times these guys phone in their issues. Like, no offense to some of those guys, I know they're talented in other ways, and I know they have fans and stuff. But to me, I'm like, they don't restrict themselves in any way. They don't try to challenge themselves. They just go, oh, I'll just write in run-on sentences. And so this book can go 5 years, and that'll give me plenty of time to wrap up any threads that aren't wrapped up here. And then it gives me plenty of time to see fan theories online and pick which ones I like, and then integrate them in and say that was my plan all along. And they say they don't do stuff like that, but they do. Because all of them are on Twitter 24/7 and they see fan things all the time. So to me, I hate when people come out and go like, oh, I have a trilogy planned, or I have a 5-year plan on this comic. I'm like, why don't you write one story and let's see it do really well? Like Donny Cates did with Thanos Wins. He came in right at the end of, like, Jeff Lemire or someone big wrote Thanos, and the book sucked. Donny Cates came in and wrote an awesome Thanos Wins story, a one and done story, and it sold like crazy. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, but instead of doing another Thanos book, they just put him on other books, and now he's pitching 5-year Venom and 5-year Thor plans. And I'm just like, I understand this Venom story is big, but I don't know if 5 years just seems like a lot. Like, pitch a 2-year plan. 2 years, I think the max that my personal taste can go to. So yeah, Venom 2, hopefully it's just 2 hours long. I want Tom Hardy as Leatherface in a future I love the Texas Chainsaw movies, so that'd be great. I can't imagine, because he always does like voices, like he changes his voices in a lot of his movies. So that'd be interesting to hear what the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, sounds like, when he talks. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Tomei is attractive, but for me, Erica Letherson and Elizabeth Moss, for Just in general, those are women you like or find interesting. Yeah, I mean, Marissa Tomei is not. I'm not saying she's the hottest woman ever, but she's definitely attractive for sure. Will Venomverse expand on the Venom lore and mythos like the Kate's book with the Venom? I doubt it. I doubt it. If you notice, when you look at a lot of these movies, especially the MCU movies, besides Civil War, they don't pull from a lot of modern stuff. Or they did Extremis, I think, in Iron Man 3. But they don't pull from a lot of modern stuff. And if you see some of these directors, they talk about these characters, are like, yeah, I like the Walt Simonson Thor stuff. So that's what, kind of pushed Taika Waititi into the direction of Ragnarok. He wanted a very Kirby, Walt Simonson world. And I see a lot of inspiration from older comics. Not a lot of these guys get inspiration from newer comics, which I'm glad because I think a lot of newer comics have been pretty terrible. So yeah, I hope they don't do a Venom movie story. If they want to do a cartoon version of that, that's great. I think that's what cartoons can be. Or if they ever reboot Venom in like 10, 20 years, they'll probably base it off of all that stuff that's happening now. The only thing I can think of they might bring in is Null. The reason I say that is because I think out of all of Donnie's major ideas in his book, the Null and Dylan thing are a lot of people's favorites. And it does add to the lore of Venom in a way that like the Venom just kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit. It was a neat story, but just like I like the idea of symbiotes not being here before Venom being here. So to say, oh, Venom, symbiotes have been here since the Grendel back in the day, and you're just kind of like, of course, it feels like Michael Bay when he did the Transform movies. He was like, oh, this is not the first time Cybertronian has been to Earth. They actually came here with the Fallen, many years ago. And then actually the third movie said, oh, they came, or fourth movie, they came before the Fallen where there was dinosaurs. And you're just like, how many times are you going to go back and just add things that weren't there before? So it seems like very lazy Michael Bay writing to me. So yeah, I hope they don't do Venom. But no, I could see because they set up in the first Venom movie, they say that Riot is a team leader, and Venom was on that team, and they were sent to Earth to see if it was habitable for them to invade. And then they try to take a rocket, or Riot try to take a rocket back to, I guess, alert whoever they serve that that the planet is ripe for the taking. Which seems weird to me. You would think they would have a plan. Like I always like that in Planet Symbiotes, where they sent symbiotes down to Earth, and they were like, okay, before you attack any humans, build a Stargate so that way you can teleport us there and we can invade. And so that's what happened. And so, but in the movie, it was like Riot comes down here, he pisses around for 3 months as an old woman in Asia, and then comes to the United States. I don't know why it took him 3 months to get here. And then he just says, I'm going to hijack a spaceship. And you're just like, so you didn't have a plan to get back to Clintar or to let them know that this planet. So I don't know. It seems kind of weird to me. But they did mention that he's a team leader and they were sent here. So I'm assuming that maybe that was because they want to set up some kind of being back on Clintar. And maybe we'll see who that being is in the third Venom movie. Studios don't like to hide their stars behind masks. It doesn't express emotion, and they paid for that face. I'd have to be something Hardy wanted to do. I mean, he's Eddie a lot in the movie, though. So that was probably the compromise, was that, hey, let's do the voice. So he's Eddie a lot, but the reason you don't feel like that or don't get that sense when you're watching a movie is because you hear Venom talking to him a lot. So that's why I think it's pretty smart. It's like a good way to have your cake and eat it too. So good. The face of our actor can be in 90% of this movie. But as long as you hear that Venom voice, his presence is always there. So it never feels like Venom's not on screen. And I think that's a really smart way they did that first movie. And I hope they do that in the second one too. An R-rated Venom and Carnage movie would be awesome though. I mean, I know a lot of people think that, but I like I said, Carnage has never, he only 2 times in his whole history has he been in a mature rated book. And we even interviewed the writer of one of those recently, David Quinn. We interviewed him on the show, and I asked him, what was it like to do one of the only versions of Carnage that was rated R? Because other than that, Carnage, 95% of the comics he's been in, all of the cartoons he's been in, the video games, none of them have been mature rated, only 2 comics ever. So when people say, oh, you got to make Carnage R to do it right, I don't know where people get that from, because I'm like, he's only been rated R twice. And the only reason those books were mature rated because there was like drawn nudity in there, mainly, and it was dealt with psychosis, so it was like adult themes. But to me, I'm fine with PG-13. Venom symbol is very iconic. Yeah, maybe we'll see it eventually too. We got the toy coming out now with the veins and stuff from the movie. I'm so excited for that toy. I can't believe we're finally, that must have been one hell of a conversation with Sony and Disney and Hasbro to work out a deal to make a Venom movie toy, like officially. I mean, yeah, because there's like Chinese knockoff toys and toys in Asia that go through different ways to get licensing rights and stuff that have movie versions of the character. But this is like our first official one, and I'm so excited for that. I can't wait to get it. LOL, Cates hasn't done anything other than retcon a bunch of stuff, but he didn't want to write about, make a plot device, aka Dylan, and then an edgelord bad guy with no backstory. I mean, pretty much. I mean, yeah, I would say the fact that we're 25 issues in to this story, and we also had Silver Surfer Black, and we still don't. All we know about Null was that he was here at the beginning of the time, and he cut off a Celestial's head, and everything just seems to be. I talked about him kind of being a Mary Sue a little bit, like everything just kind of falls in Null's lap to the point where I don't even know how he was captured. Like that's the one flaw he's had is somehow the Clintar race overtook him, but we don't know how. So I'm guessing King in Black will explain that. So I'm willing to give Donnie a little bit more time to explain it. But if at the end of King of Black we still don't really have a true sense of who Null is, then yeah, I'm gonna give up on that character. Do you think Woody is going to end up being a good Cletus? I mean, I think he's a great actor. I've loved him ever since. I think the first movie I saw him in was White Men Can't Jump, and then I saw him in what's that? Oh man, Natural Born Killers. He's a great actor. He's funny, so he's good at comedy movies. He's dark. He's good at playing killers, I think, and I think he looks better with the shorter hair. So I'm glad he's got shorter hair in the new movie. Universal Monsters versus Sinister Six. There you go. Both the previous Spider-Man franchise were pulling from Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, pretty much. And I think that was a mistake because the Ultimate Spider-Man universe is neat as a comic book, but nothing holds a candle to the original stuff. And that's where most, I think, filmmakers in the MCU try to pull from. Because if you look at the versions of Vulture and Mysterio, in the new movies, they're more reminiscent of classic takes on the characters. Well, Vulture's a little updated, but Mysterio is like full on like a 70s villain, 60s and 70s villain. So I think Kevin Feige is just a big fan of the 60s and 70s Marvel, and he seems to tell people to pull a lot from those eras, which is, I think, better because, not a lot of things of substance happen in modern comics, in my opinion. And when they do, they don't last very long. How should they make Spider-Man and Venom crossover? I was saying I hope they just have Spider-Man multiverse. I mean, they're already setting up the Spider-Verse, the multiverse with Spider-Man. So to me, I'm just like, in Venom's world, there's no Peter Parker or Spider, or maybe there's a Peter Parker who's not bitten by a spider. That could actually be a really cool scene, actually. I think they did that in Spider-Man, one of the Bendis ones, where Spider-Man looked up Miles Morales in the 616 universe, and we didn't find out until the second book, who Miles was, and it was dumb. The reveal was dumb, but I thought that'd be cool if Spider-Man, Peter Parker met, in the Spider-Verse movie, he met Miles. He goes back to his world, reconnects with Mary Jane, and then maybe one day he's like, you know what? I wonder if there's a Miles on this planet, and then he goes and finds Miles with his mom and dad and his uncle alive still, and they're a family, and he's outside playing with friends, and his family's in the back talking, and they're grilling out in the park or something like that, and Peter just has a moment where he's like, hey, look at that, this kid's life is better here, so that could be something that could be neat, where Venom and Spider-Man meet through the multiverse, where Spider-Man comes into Venom's world or vice versa, and then when the end of the movie, Venom goes to look and see if there's a Peter Parker, maybe him and Anne are on a date, and he looks over and he sees a Tom Holland in his world, and he's kind of and that Tom Holland is happy, and he's not Spider-Man, his life isn't ruined. I don't know. That to me, it sounds cheesy, I know, but I would rather something like that as opposed to them just revealing, oh, we've always lived in the same world, because that would just be really lazy, and I don't want that. Marvel, I want Ghost Rider solo film directed by Chris Nolan. Okay. Hi, that's a tall order. Keanu Reeves as Johnny Blaze and Elizabeth Moss as Roxanne. Roxanne, maybe, I don't know. Neil Patrick Harris is Blackheart. Wow. Would Blackheart be a CGI character for you, or do you want to do that terrible version they did in the first Ghost Rider movie, where it's like what's that guy's name? Wes Bentley, just kind of walked around as a normal looking human, and then sometimes there'd be like a digital effect over his face to make him look like Blackheart. It was so bad. What if MCU was never bought by Disney, Paramount distributed, so they possibly buy Universal continues Marvel rights? Darker, deeper, grounded stories like Iron Man and Hulk, one film a year, no Sony, no Fox deal. I mean, we could spend all day wondering what dark or light timeline that we're actually in with that stuff, but I don't like to waste energy on what could have been. I tend to just look at what we get, and either I'm happy with it or I'm not happy with it. It just, I don't know, I like to keep things simple like that. So I never really gave it too much thought about if that deal never happened. There's no phony or phony. I mixed the two together. If there was no Sony or Fox deal, Marvel would be bankrupt. That would also be true, probably. Riot from the first Venom movie reminds me of Edgar from Men in Black in terms of motivation. Yeah, although I feel like I'm going to give the edge to Edgar. Like he had a little bit more of a plan, I feel like, than Riot did. But you're right. Also, I love the scene where he's drinking like sugar water. I always thought that was funny. That lady they interview, she's like, yeah, he was drinking sugar water. And then they just like erase her mind. Do you think Carnage is going to end up dying in Venom 2, or are they going to make Maximum Carnage later? It's a good question. We were talking about that. A lot of people think they'll build up to a Maximum Carnage movie because, Morbius is getting a movie and they're talking about Night Watch at some point, maybe getting something. And I know those are all Maximum Carnage characters, but it's hard to say because I feel like Sony's real plans, and it has been since I worked there and even before I worked there, they want to do Sinister Six. So I feel like if they're going to build up to a shared thing, it's not going to be Maximum Carnage, it's going to be Sinister Six. And so maybe they'll save Carnage and he'll be a member of the Sinister Six. And I know a lot of comic book fans would hate that on some level because I know that's not comic accurate, really. I know Venom was a member one time of the Sinister Six. But that book sucked, so who cares? So to me, I don't know. I think if they build towards anything, it'll be Sinister Six, and it won't be Maximum Carnage, I feel. Because like I said, I feel like Carnage, if they let him live, they'll save him for Venom 3, and maybe Null will be a part of it or something like that. And then, or maybe they'll stick him in the Sinister Six. I don't know. I think it would be dumb for them to kill him, because I do agree they could use him and Woody for one more role somewhere else. But what that role will be, I don't know. Because that'd be cool if it was like Spider-Man and Venom had to team up to fight the Sinister Six. With more, and maybe Morbius is on the Sinister Six, and he's the one that they turn good by the end. I don't know. We'll see. Riot looks like the Lizard. Riot looks like Venom. He looks like exactly like Venom, just bigger. That dude never dies. Yeah, CGI for Blackheart, nice. And Neil Patrick Harris's voice, interesting. I would feel like you would want to go with someone with a darker voice, but. Imagine if Keanu Reeves played Morbius. Keanu Reeves, I think he said the one role he, as far as comic book characters go, that he would have liked to play was Wolverine. I could have seen that, although I really love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman almost wasn't Wolverine. It was almost Doug Reese-Scott, and I'm glad Hugh Jackman got the role, because I like Doug Reese-Scott. He's good, but I don't know if he would have been a good Wolverine. I'm still baffled that they chose Riot over any other symbiote. I agree. I think they should have done like Scream, because at least she's visually different colors than Venom. You could have made her bright yellow with a little bit of red in her, but I think they avoided that because they wanted to save, if they were going to do a red symbiote, they would do Carnage in the next one. But I agree, they should have made Riot somehow different looking. Oh, that would be amazing. Nick Cage could do Norman Osborn. Nick Cage he could do anything almost except Ghost Rider. I want Nicolas Cage back as Ghost Rider. Oh, never mind. So Unicycle wants him as back as Ghost Rider. I don't know. I like Nick Cage. I actually am a fan of the guy. I love 8mm. That's one of my favorite movies. I remember seeing it. That was directed by the late Joel Schumacher. And I remember that came out like a year after Batman and Robin, or 2 years after Batman and Robin. And I remember thinking, how could the guy who made this make Batman and Robin? Like, he just had a different vision for Batman. He wanted to make something that was like the Adam West TV show. And he did. He nailed it. If you watch Batman and Robin and you just think of it as an Adam West movie, then it's not that bad, actually. But if you look at it as like a true Batman movie that you want to compare it to the comics and stuff, it's not good at all, obviously. But it's weird because 8mm is a detective story that I'm like, wow, if you just made Nicolas Cage Matches Malone in this movie and you made a Matches Malone Bruce Wayne movie or whatever. I'm like, this would be amazing. It'd probably be one of the best Batman movies out there. But that movie's a dark movie. It's really dark, that movie. If they do make Maximum Carnage movie, I hope it's extreme R or rated X. You're insane, dude. They'll never do that. I remember in Sony leaked emails, Sony had ideas for Carnage solo film franchise idea, and one was the horrible Ultimate Universe Carnage as Gwen stuff. Yeah, well, Ultimate Carnage, it was it wasn't it like it was like made from Peter's DNA, so it was Peter, right? Like it just looked like Peter Parker, and it killed Gwen. And then I think it like took on her. It could take on her form or Aunt May's form, like anyone it attacked or hurt. I think. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that either. I'm so glad they didn't do that. That's when I was working at. I don't think I was working there when the emails leaked, but I always wondered. I'm like, I wonder if any of my emails to Amy Pascal and us pitching our Spider-Man movie. I wonder if any of those were unveiled in the leak. That would be kind of funny. It would have been from an old email, but still, it would have been kind of funny. Yeah, Sinister Six Venom bit Sandman somehow, and he falls apart. Yeah, that book sucked. Speaking of Norman Osborn, Giancarlo Esposito would be great. He's a really good actor. I see a lot of people wanting him to play a lot of Marvel characters. I saw some people saying he should be Magneto, that he should be Xavier, all this stuff. He's a good actor. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I hope he plays a character that he can really act with, though. Like, that's my thing, is like making him Norman Osborn, I think would be a waste, because I don't think they're going to have a good take on the character. I just don't trust Marvel when it comes to really developing villains. They did pretty good with Thanos, and like Loki and stuff, but most of those I think were performances and the way it was like handled and written. But most Marvel movies, I feel, don't do a very good job on their villains. So I don't know. I'd rather him. I hope what they do with X-Men is I hope they do Disney Plus with X-Men and not even do X-Men movies. I'd much rather like 8-episode, 1-hour episode seasons for X-Men. That way you can take your time building the team. The first season, I think, it should be called X-Men Children of the Atom, and you could focus on the formation of the original team. So you could have the original 5 and maybe add like 2 or 3 other members to it, like Storm and stuff like that. And then, and Forge maybe. Actually, Forge would be really cool to see on screen. I'd like to see more mutants with actual mutations, not just all pretty model type mutants. If you do Iceman, it'd be cool if he was just a block of ice the whole time, and that's like his mutation is that he's just stuck in that form. Because Beast, they always do that in the movies where they're like, Beast, all right, he's got a drug he can take and he can look human or be like Beast. Mystique, she's gonna look like Jennifer Lawrence most of the time, and it's like, you have a mutation, like, you're born like that, like, show it off. That's what I liked about the original X-Men movies, where Mystique was just blue the whole time. I don't think she had to be naked, although, Rebecca Romijn Stamos is beautiful, or Rebecca Romijn now, I think. She's beautiful, and everything, but still, just her being a mutant all the time in her blue form, and Toad looking the way he did all the time, like that. That's the whole point of the X-Men, I think, is that not all of them look normal, look normal people, and that helps sell the metaphor of what X-Men is about. So if you have everyone just be, looking like supermodels, it just kind of hurts the way the message of the X-Men, in my opinion. I have seen Batman and Robin, and honestly, it's hilarious. It's fun to watch. I think it's fun to watch. If you watch it like a 2-hour Adam West episode, it's fun to watch, I think. But it does. I laugh at the movie, not in a good way. Drake, there is no way they will make Venom rated R, let alone X. I know. I think he's just having fun. I want Keanu Reeves as Ghost Rider and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the voice of Blackheart. Okay, that's pretty good. Disney would make Osborne hate Iron Man. Yeah, pretty much. That's the thing, is like Disney would be like, well, that's what I said earlier. I was like, oh, he should come in and take over Stark Industries and become Iron Patriot. And then I was like, nah. Because then that does what all the Marvel movies do, which is they just tie everything back to Iron Man. Hey, Babak, what's up, Andy? How's it going? I have watched Daredevil and Punisher, and I like both. Those were my 2 favorite Marvel shows on Netflix. Consistently, I actually liked all 3 seasons of Daredevil, and I liked both seasons of Punisher. Luke Cage, I liked the first 6 episodes of season 1, and I wish it would have ended there. Where was it Cottonmouth got killed? I think it should have ended there, because those episodes are great. When they did the last half where he meets his old friend who was like also bulletproof or whatever. I thought that was dumb. And then Jessica Jones season 1, I liked except for like 4 episodes that were in the middle where she was like kidnapped by Purple Man and like put in a house or whatever. I thought that was so dumb. So if they would have lost those 4 episodes and condensed it down to like 8 episodes, I think Jessica Jones would have been an awesome season. But obviously Iron Fist I hate and Defenders I hate. I can't stand those shows. They were terrible. Yes, part of Mystique's character is that she's proud to be a mutant. She only disguises herself when she has to. I mean, yeah, part of the mission, right? It's like, okay, I gotta be Henry Gyrick to do this, or I gotta be what's that guy's name? Bruce, whatever, from the first X-Men movie. He's like the senator, Senator Kelly. It's like, I gotta be Senator Kelly in this scene, and it's like, so she does it. She uses her powers for a purpose. Plus, she's like the ultimate spy in the comic books. She's like Black Widow. And Chameleon like mixed together, which is really cool. I like Mystique in the comics a lot more. I certainly love the stuff with her and Sabretooth. They are such a great combination. Actually, I would have killed for a Mystique and Sabretooth movie. That would have been so awesome, actually. I can be creative, and I know they would never go that route. Yeah, I know. You're just having fun. Punisher, Disney Plus, starring Adam Sandler. That's good. Thanks for the 17 thumbs up, by the way. And everyone, I do have to leave in about 5 minutes. So thank you all for being here with me talking about the Venomverse today. Like I said, I know we talked about Morbius earlier, the Kraven the Hunter getting a director possibly, Olivia Wilde possibly directing Spider-Woman or some female-centric Spider movie, and then also the Silk movie that was announced today, Silk TV show that was announced today that Amazon is looking at picking up. So, and with Lord and Miller as producers and stuff. So I'm intrigued. I think this universe that they're working on, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. So thank you guys for being here talking to me about that. And let me catch up on chat before we head out. Who's your favorite Universal monster? Creature of the Black Lagoon, hands down. That's my favorite. Came out in the 50s. I love all my favorite movies are from the 50s. Like 12 Angry Men, The Day the Earth Stood Still is my absolute favorite movie of all time by Robert Wise. Came out in 1951. There's a lot of Hitchcock in the 50s. Like the 50s, great movies, including Creature of the Black Lagoon. So that's my favorite monster. But I'm also a big fan of like Frankenstein and the Mummy. Like I like them all in respect of each other. Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula. Like I'm a big fan of all of those characters, but Creature is definitely my favorite one. What do you think about the Hellstrom Hulu series? We might talk about that. So I have a show I do on this channel about Ghost Rider called Highway to Hell. Since the current Ghost Rider comic has been canceled and the TV show that they were working on got canceled, the show's going to come to an end. But I'm going to bring Highway to Hell back for a season 2, and we're going to talk about Spawn for 25 episodes and just cover as much Spawn stuff as I can for 25 episodes. After Spawn, I think around that time, the Hulu Hellstrom show will probably start. So I was thinking about doing Highway to Hell season 3, focusing on Hellstrom. So we might get into that if you guys are interested. Should the MCU do Fantastic Four or X-Men first? Fantastic Four, definitely, because I want Doctor Doom in the MCU immediately. They need a good villain for the MCU, and Doctor Doom is the best villain in all of comic books, in my opinion. So if Giancarlo Esposito wants to play Doctor Doom, Dr. Victor Von Doom, I would be into that. It doesn't matter. Just get a really good actor to play Von Doom, and he needs to be your focus. He needs to, pop up from time to time. Don't do a one and done where he gets beaten in the first movie by the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four movie needs to be about the Fantastic Four getting mutated, going, and dealing with like a Nihilus or Mole Man or something. That needs to be Fantastic Four. You can have Doctor Doom in it, but he needs to be like a dude who is like dealing with science and mysticism. He needs to be like Doctor Strange, because this is a guy who literally went to hell and threatened Mephisto and said, "Hey, give me my mother's soul back or I'll put you down." And Mephisto, they like actually flinched, facing Doom. So that's Doctor Doom. So I need him to be like, or we as the fandom need him to be an actual force in the MCU. Whether he doesn't need to be their next Thanos. He just needs to be as a part of that universe, and he needs to pop up from time to time. Like every phase, he needs to pop up in like 2 movies or something like that. I'm kind of a fan of Stephen King, a little bit. He's kind of a weird, pervy old man. A lot of people, I think, have nostalgia glasses when they think about his writing, But when I remember his writing from when I was a kid, like the little bits of I remember of reading growing up, like the Stand and It and stuff. There's like weird things in them. So I don't know. He's a weirdo. He's not very good at dialogue, which makes sense because I'm not very good at dialogue. And Agatha Christie's my favorite writer, and she's great with dialogue. I wish I learned more from her writing. I seem to have learned a lot from Stephen King's writing, so I'm not very good at dialogue sometimes. So that's one thing I try to work on in my own writing is dialogue. I try to make it a little more like Agatha Christie because she does a really good job. I still think F4 should be done as a TV show and let them team be developed well for seasons. Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about X-Men. X-Men should be a TV show. The Fantastic Four, I would love to see a movie of where it's like about the space race, about like going to space. Make that feel big again. I think they went really lazy. I didn't see the most recent Fantastic Four movie, and I never will, where they're like, oh, we're going to take from the Ultimate Comics, and they're just going to go into the negative zone and and everything. And they go to the negative zone, they don't even meet a nihilist. It's what a waste. Anyway, to me, that's so lazy. Like, when I was a kid, and even now, people still like like I now live in Florida, and they do space shuttle launches all the time here, and it's a big deal still. It's still nothing short of a miracle, I feel, to get someone through the atmosphere and into space. It's so cool. I think people lost track of this time of wonder and dreaming and having visions for a better tomorrow. Everyone says they're doing things that are for the betterment of tomorrow, but I don't think anyone has a real vision of what that is. Star Trek, I think, was the last time. Gene Roddenberry, I think, was the last person to have a real vision of a better future in sci-fi. And then everyone else just kind of does dumb shit in sci-fi for the most part. Except for maybe Doctor Who does some cool things in sci-fi. But for me, I'm just like, I would love to see something where it's like a big deal that these people are going into space, and when something goes wrong, how terrifying that can be, and then coming back changed is terrifying. Because the thing about the Fantastic Four is they're not superheroes. Not really. Like, they fell into it eventually, but they're just a family. Like, that's what it is. They're an actual family of people who their first thought wasn't, hey, we should put on costumes and go save the world. They see Mole Man attack, and they're just like, well, we have powers. Do you think we can do something about this Mole Man? Because nobody else seems to be able to handle this or coming in to save it. And the police and the government are failing. So can we do something about it? And that's kind of the Fantastic Four, is that their first thought wasn't, we should be superheroes. Their first thought was, we've been changed, and we have to examine this. Like, Reed is like, let's do the science, let's figure out what's going on with us, and they decide collectively, no, we can actually do some real good with this. I would love to see that translated to screen better than it was when they did the Jessica Alba movies and the Chris Evans movies. I thought those captured some of the characterization of the characters fairly well, but the movies were just kind of silly. I would rather that without the silliness. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We'll see. But I'd prefer X-Men as a Disney Plus show and Fantastic Four as a movie. But if they did Fantastic Four as a TV show, I wouldn't be mad either, because I just want Fantastic Four stuff. Hulu's Daredevil starring Aaron Paul. Pretty sure he was one come out during, and I'm pretty sure he was coked out. Oh, of course. I mean, most of his writing he was. So Misery, Stand, Carrie, like a lot of those, I'm sure I think those were co-written by his drugs that he was on. No judgments, just saying, like, yeah, they are. But I did read a lot of Stephen King growing up, so I think he kind of rubbed off on me as far as dialogue goes. So I try to work on dialogue, because Agatha Christie is my favorite writer, and they're doing a lot of Agatha Christie movies recently. You guys probably, if you're not aware of her writing, probably don't even know. But they did a movie, Kenneth Branagh, who was directed the first Thor movie, and is an awesome actor, very good director too. He plays Hercule Poirot, and they did a Murder on the Orient Express movie with like Josh Gad and Daisy Ridley, I think it was. And now they're doing another Agatha Christie movie I saw the trailer for it when I saw New Mutants, and I think it's like Death on the Nile, and Gal Gadot's in it and stuff. It's got a great cast, and Hercule Poirot returns. So it looks like they're doing a shared universe Agatha Christie with Hercule Poirot stories, which I think is brilliant. So brilliant. So I'm excited. Although Hercule Poirot was never part of And Then There Were None, or what was it? 10 Little Indians was the original name, but they changed it to And Then There Were None. I would love to see a version of that where Hercule Poirot shows up to try to solve that murder, because that book stumped me. I read a lot of mystery growing up. Agatha Christie was the one writer that every time I got to the end, I was always surprised. I'm like, how the hell did I not guess who the killer was? Like, she gets me every time she writes a mystery. I love her writing so much. She's my favorite writer of all time. If you've never heard of her, go educate yourself. Get an Agatha Christie book. You could pretty much pick any. There's like Three Blind Mice. There's like I said, Murder Orient Express. I'd be blown away if you got And Then There Were None. If you picked that book up and read it, and you guessed the ending, who the killer is, I'd be surprised. I would be. It's really good. I have watched The Boys. It's great. I love Eric Kripke. He created Supernatural, which is my favorite TV show, as you can see by my tattoos that are from the show. Boom, boom, boom. 3 tattoos. So yes, I love The Boys. Season 2 starts tomorrow. I'm very excited that my brother and my mom are watching it right now. So excited that they're watching it and enjoying it. And I'm excited for season 3 because Jensen Ackles is going to join the show as Soldier Boy. And I'm very excited for that because Jensen Ackles is my favorite TV actor because I love him on Supernatural and I loved him on Smallville. So I can't wait to see him as Soldier Boy. And he's also a good Red Hood as well. Mulan is also tomorrow. Women are filled with surprises. That's true. But Mulan, I love the story of Mulan, the actual story. And I love the Disney animated movie of Mulan. Actually, when they announced Mulan was getting a live action, it was the only time I was excited for one of these live action Disney movies. And then I saw the trailer and I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. I still want to watch Bill and Ted. I haven't watched it yet. So I'm going to probably watch that before I watch Mulan anyway. But anyway, that's it, guys. It's been like 6 or 7 minutes. So thank you. Thanks for the 18 thumbs up. I appreciate it. Thanks for talking Venomverse with me. This was a fun episode to do. I'm glad we got to get in 2 Venom vlog lives this week. And then I did some other live streams. This week was all live streams, actually. I don't know if I'll do one tomorrow. I think I'm going to spend the rest of the night editing and then a little bit tomorrow morning editing. And I'm going to try to get some pre-recorded videos up to you guys over the weekend, starting tomorrow, hopefully, and then over the weekend. So, because I recorded like 8 videos on Monday, I recorded 4 video game reviews. I did God of War, Resident Evil 1 Remake, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm going to need a little time to edit those because I'm going to have to edit video game footage into them. And I've been playing the games and like recording them and, so I got to go through all the footage and everything. So give me a little bit of time to work on those. So those ones I'll save. But we also have, some Ghost Rider episodes that I pre-recorded and some, I think, a Transformer review for Terminator something, Transformer vs. Terminator episode 3 or issue 3. And I have a couple other things. And then I have some Venom vlog stuff that I'm going to work on too. So I'll get stuff to you guys ASAP for sure. And don't forget, Batman Week is coming up September 13th through the 19th. And that week you will get 1 video a day from me that is Batman related. I'm going to rewatch the entire show, the cartoon called The Batman. And on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and Friday of that week, one episode for each season, I'm going to do my top 3 episodes from each season of The Batman. And then on that Saturday, which is actual Batman Day, September 19th, you're going to get a video from me where I actually interviewed 2 of the creators and directors from the Batman cartoon. I love that show. I think it's very underrated. I love the original Batman show more, of course. It's a phenomenal show. It's perfection in my eyes. But when they followed it up with the Batman, I thought it was such a cool departure from the other Batman show that I really fell in love with it. And then I got to befriend and make friends with people who worked on the show when I lived in LA, and they were nice enough to let me record an interview with them. And I did put the interview up before, I think on my Patreon, but then I took it down and was wanted to re-edit it and work on it. Now that I don't have Patreon anymore, because I just didn't want to deal with Patreon anymore and making content just for it, figured everything I make, I just want to put here on YouTube for you guys. So I will re-edit those and you will get those on Batman Day. And it's a really great interview. It's like an hour long where I got to talk about each season of the Batman with these amazing creators. So yeah, I have a lot of Batman content coming up. And I figured since the movie coming out is called The Batman, then we would talk about the cartoon called The Batman. And we'll look at the toys, the cartoon, we'll talk to the creators, all that stuff. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Peace out. Thank you very much. Bye, Siike. Have a great night. You too, Stupid Unicycle, X-Master, all you people who are here. If you're new, not, hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself tonight. And we'll have a lot more content coming to you guys very soon. Thanks so much. See you in the future. Peace.